Good morning, or whatever time of day it is for you right now, and thank you for joining us. I'm guessing that if you're here, you either feel like you're a weirdo, or you deal with a lot of people who seem like weirdos to you. Either way, if you ultimately want to get better at communicating with people who are different than you are in the right place. I'm Jeremy, and I've been called weird many times in my life, and I generally agree. But what I found, in fact, is that everyone's a weirdo. We all communicate very differently, and once we recognize that, we can find ways to make conversations easier, which is going to help make things better at work, with your family and friends, or any social interaction. I'm glad you are taking this journey with us, so let's get started. Welcome back. This is episode 13 of How to Talk to Weirdos, Details versus the Big Picture. These are in a lot of the assessments that I like best, like the Myers Briggs and the LMI Achiever. Since more people know Myers Briggs, it refers to the N, which is intuitive, or that is the big picture, people who see possibilities. They tend to focus on the why. The S is for concrete details, and they are people who tend to focus on the what. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, I have a picture up. I think. Hold on. There's the picture. And in the picture, this is a great example that was used to help me understand the difference between sensory people and intuitive people. If you're not there, then you can see the picture on YouTube, or I'll put it on my LinkedIn page. But basically what it is, in the background, there are a bunch of stars. In the foreground, there is a silhouette of a tree. It's got some star decorations hanging from it. So it's like these cut out stars hanging from strings, but on the tree itself are also what look like stars, just like are in the background in the sky. Also in the sky is a crescent moon with a boy standing in it, and he's reaching for the biggest star that's in the sky. Now, the teacher, to explain the difference, asked 5 of us to look at this picture, talk about it for 15 minutes, which seemed like a really long time, and tell everybody as much as we could about the picture. And then she took a group of 5 other people, had them do the same thing. When it was our turn to describe it, we talked about the boy who was in the moon was the one who decorated that tree. We talked about how he cut out those stars, he hung them from strings, but he didn't think that was good enough, so he started reaching up into the sky. He pulled stars down, he put the stars on the tree to decorate it, but it needed a bigger star, so he got himself all the way up into the moon so that he could reach for the biggest star in the sky. He was going to then pull it down, put it on top of the tree, and that's what he was doing for. That's what this picture meant to us. The other group of 5 people were laughing at us, as if you're looking at the picture, you may be laughing at me right now. And we said, well, what's so funny? What's your story? And the teacher said, that's not even the right question to ask. Wait till you hear them explain it. They had looked at it, and they not only counted all the stars that were in the sky, they categorized them by the very bright stars, the medium stars, and the small stars. They told us how many of each of those there were, and then they started looking at the colors in the background, which connoted or denoted how far away each of the layers of the mountains were. So they were trying to guess at the distance between the first layer and the second layer. And then they looked at all the rocks on the ground, which we hadn't even noticed, and they told us how many rocks there were and their approximate sizes. That was a really good example of the differences in the way that people think about these sorts of details. For us, it was all about the possibilities. For them, it was all about the concrete stats, numbers, and details. So a great example of this is when you're learning to play a new game. If you've ever been taught a new board game or card game, it can be pretty frustrating. For me, I get frustrated because people are trying to give me all of the details. I don't want all of the details. They tell me step by step. Step 1 is this, 2, 3, 4. by step 4, I've stopped paying attention and I can't really grasp the game, and it's very frustrating. I try not to cut them off. Sometimes I do, but if I manage to get through it, I then ask them the 3 questions that I have. All I really want to know are what's the goal of the game and what is a brief guideline of what the rules are. Any more than that, I'm going to start losing attention. I get especially frustrated if someone tries to tell me the strategy. I don't want you to tell me the strategy. If I know the goal, I'm going to come up with the strategy myself. It's half the fun of the game, and frankly, I think my strategy might be better than yours. I'm willing to bet I am just as frustrating to other people who are trying to learn a game, because I will give them the goal and just the quick overview, and if they ask questions about the details, I will actually say, don't worry about it, it's going to make sense as we go. And boy, there are a lot of people who really don't care for that. It just doesn't work for them as well as it works for me. Now, if you are a very detailed person, for instance, engineers are known to be very detailed people. It's not always true, but on average, it's more true than not. And I'm doing a talk to a bunch of engineers at UMass, and one piece of recommendation, one piece of advice that I give them is, if you want something for your manager, just ask for it. Don't tell them why. Don't tell them the story of how you got there. Ask for what you need. If they want details, they will tell you. And then you ought to have them ready to go in your back pocket. But until then, leave them there. Most managers are big picture people, and they are not going to be interested unless it's important to them. Similarly in sales, if you're in sales and somebody has agreed to buy the thing that you're selling, that is the time to stop talking. Detailed salespeople feel the need to explain all of the features, and sometimes if that's working with a large picture person, that's going to just make them tired and they may back out, or you may start getting into details that make them question other things, and then they'll back away. Once you got what you want, once the manager has agreed to give you what you need, or the salesperson has gotten the sale, just stop talking and move forward. Now, for intuitive people like me who are not generally prepared with a lot of detailed answers, you need to be. I need to be prepared to answer more questions, and when they ask questions, I need to give really concrete answers. My tendency, because I understand it, I don't think they need to know all the details, so I'll give high-level answers. And what I've found is that a lot of times that does not fly. People need the concrete answers, so I need to make sure that I have them ready, and I need to make sure that I give that to them. And another thing, if someone who's very detailed is talking to me and I don't want all the details, it's nice to ask for one. Let them know that what they have done is important. Otherwise, it can seem dismissive. So if I will ask them for a detail and make sure they know I appreciate all the work that they did to get to the point where they have the high-level answer, that's important for them to know that I appreciate it. So I try to ask for a detail, and I try to frame it so that they're not going to talk to me for a long, long time, because that's going to wear me out. But I want to make sure that they have shown me all the hard work that they did. If you're a manager, one thing that I learned a long time ago is I ask people very early on, before it becomes a problem. I'll ask them, if I were to teach you how to do a new thing, how would you want me to teach you? Would you want me to give you every step, or would you want me to just give you the goal and then let you figure it out for yourself? And people rarely understand the question because it's never really occurred to them that anyone would be a different way. The detailed people look at me like I'm insane and say, well, how would I know how to do it if you don't tell me how to do it? And the big picture people look at me worried that I'm going to micromanage them, and they say, all I want to know is what the end goal is, and I'll be able to figure it out from there. I'll ask you questions if I have them. Knowing that ahead of time Either answer is totally fine, but knowing it ahead of time allows me to work with them much better so that everybody gets what they need and isn't frustrated. The other thing I'll say for managers is shore up your strengths. It can be frustrating dealing with people who are different than you. I know that the detailed people get annoyed with me, and I sometimes get annoyed with them, but we really need each other. I may know where I want to be 3 years from now, but I definitely don't know all the steps I need to take. And if you're a detailed person and you know all the steps that you're going to take in detail over the next few weeks, do you really know where it's going after that? We both need each other in order to make a successful team or a successful company. So shore up your strengths by finding someone who is very different from you. Next week, we're going to have my very good friend, Peter George. He is a coach on public speaking. The thing that we found out in our conversation is that a lot of the concepts that apply to public speaking also apply to interpersonal communication. So whichever one you're more interested in, you're going to get a lot out of next week's episode. So I look forward to having you join us then. Until then, have a great day. Thank you for listening to How to Talk to Weirdos. Check out my website at www.jeremydorenspeaks.com or follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram at Jeremy Doran Speaks, where you can get more great content or give feedback on what topics you'd like me to talk about next. Please follow How to Talk to Weirdos on your favorite podcast player to get our latest episodes. Until next week, go talk to some weirdos.